Hi, welcome. My name is Vilingor, and today we are outside, and it's quite a beautiful day, as you can tell. And the topic of today's video is I'm gonna tell you a short story of my life, so we get to know each other a little bit better. And my battery is dying. Well, I am from Bosnia, and this is how Bosnia looks like. It's springtime right now, so it's quite beautiful, as you can see, and a beautiful day. And I was born in the 80s, and my childhood was except for a scraped knee here and there and a toothache here and there, the usual stuff the children go through. It was a nice childhood. I remember it with fondness. It was mostly, catching frogs and pigeons and playing soccer and playing at war with other kids and making bows and arrows, and I also liked to play with electronics. When I would get a radio commanded car, I would play with it like for 5 minutes, and then I took a screwdriver and take it apart, like to see how it works, and just the kinds of things I was interested in as a kid. And so that's one part of my life. Then later on, in the 90s, here where I live, the war happened. Currently I live in Bosnia, but and Bosnia is a country right now, but Bosnia used to be just a republic, just a segment of a larger country that was called Yugoslavia, in which I was born in. So actually I was born a Yugoslavenian, and then later on I became Bosnian. Go figure. Yugoslavia is no more. It's a country that exists no more. And the wartime for me was exciting. For a kid, I guess a war is exciting. And I was not in a place of the country where there was a lot direct warfare. So I was fortunate in that way. I did not see any. I was not afraid for my life or anything like that. There was fear occasionally, but it was never direct. I never experienced gunshots or grenades falling around me or something quite terrible like that, fortunately for me. And but during the wartime I had to move away from Bosnia because this part here was occupied. This part of Bosnia was occupied by enemy forces, and so I had to flee, and so I was a refugee. I first was a refugee for 1 year in Croatia, and I was in the elementary school at the time, and it was an interesting year in Croatia because I lived at my grandfather's house in Croatia because my grandfather immigrated years before to Croatia, so he had a house in the capital of Croatia, Zagreb, and so I lived with a bunch of kids in this one big house where they had a lot of construction material like wood and nails and stuff like that, because my grandfather was a construction worker. So imagine a big house, a bunch of kids in it, because we were all refugees, we were all like cousins and family. I don't know, at one point maybe 6-7 kids, maybe something like that. So imagine every day playing at war and playing soccer and whatever children games there are to play, and it was great in that sense. The negative side of that experience in Croatia was something that will follow me for quite some time, and that is, I guess I was picked on because I was not the local. So there was this one guy, there is always the one guy that I had fist fights with. 2 times it happened. So, but apart from that, it was great. It was great. I was like, I did fit in well in the classroom in Croatia, and it was nice. During that 1 year in Croatia, I was learning Italian because I moved to Italy after that 1 year passed, and that was kind of a great experience in one sense, because I lived in Rome in Italy, and it is beautiful, and the food is very varied, and it was a big cultural difference from Bosnia, because Bosnia is economically somewhat behind Italy for sure, and Italy has a history, and in Italy every little square, every little place of Italy has some historic things, some statues, some old buildings, some history to it. So yes, it was a very interesting experience, and Italians are, well, for the most part, you know, the majority are friendly people, are family people, are talkative, are communicative, and it was great. It was a great experience, especially because Bosnians are a little bit more rough, are a little bit more less soft, more like bears. So in Italy I learned a little bit of softness in interacting with people, which I think was a great thing for me. And I also learned another language. I hated it at the time, learning another language, and it was a nightmare, and a lot of fear was involved in that. But, you know, looking at it later on, it's such a treasure to know another language and another culture. If I did not have that experience of living in Italy, I would have to later on in my life go somewhere in a foreign country and learn a language during my life, if war did not force me to do it, because it's such an important thing and such a treasure. And I lived in Italy. I finished my elementary school in Italy, and I did 1 year of high school, mathematical high school, because in Europe high schools are like, you cannot pick your subjects. For the people from America, you cannot pick your subjects, you pick the school that is like mathematical or linguistical or artistical, and then the subjects are what they are. So I went to a mathematical high school for 1 year in Italy, and then I moved back to Croatia. And I finished my high school in Croatia. Now, the experience of high school in Italy and in Croatia was also very different. One immediately obvious thing in Croatia was that there was a lot more of alcohol. and it was again a bit more of a wild situation, and a bit more of people were more unpleasant. The classmates were more more rude and more nice people. They were nice people also, but of course, yeah, because I think also that Croatia at the time was a country coming out of the war. So the consequences of war were present everywhere. And the frogs are starting to pick up. So what will I do? Will I wait for the frogs to finish? Yes, I will. Hi again. So I had to interrupt the recording for a little bit because there are some frogs here nearby, as you can still hear, and from time to time, I don't know why, they just become so loud, and they do it just occasionally from time to time. Who knows what's the reason? Well, anyway, so I was saying, yeah, the time of high school in Croatia, and hi. I was waiting for the frogs to finish their singing, hopefully. And in the meantime, I hope you are okay with bugs, because I like bugs. So here is one. In the meantime, this bug here decided to come along, and I said, now you're gonna be on camera. So here it is, a nice black bug. So interesting they are, so different from how we are anyway. Okay, now I will let the bug go. Okay, so where were I? Yes, I was talking about high school in Croatia, and yeah, it was much more drinking, much more heavy as atmosphere. In contrast with Italy, and I think it was related because Croatia was a post-war country, and so the years of high school in Croatia were the years of alcohol, cigarettes, and introduction to some drugs, light drugs, and it was interesting on one hand, but it was also a terrible time because of how I was in my head. I was depressed a lot, anxious a lot of negative emotions, fearful, just a bunch of it. And it was kind of a worst period of my life. The end of high school and the first years of college were the worst years of my life in that regard. But as I said, it was also interesting and kind of wild, and that period too, as high school is, you know, drinking, going out with friends, in the bars, in the clubs, stuff like that. So that was the high school. And the next phase of my life was college, and I went to an art college, and that was a great experience, because finally I was with like-minded people. Finally I was with artists, and finally I was not somebody who is like an outcast. I was among people that for the most part understood me, because they themselves were the same way I am. What would be considered by most people as weird, I would say it's just unusual. And I like unusual stuff. I like that which people call weird. To me, it's the weird stuff is precious because it's unique. It's something different. And yeah, and the frogs are again picking up. I hope that the sound will be okay. I will just keep on talking, and hopefully it will not be too loud. And so college was great in that way. And it was like a small college, that it was like in a small place. It was not even a big city, and we were all living in a private accommodations in this like a small, it's not even a city, it's a small, it's not a village, but very, very small city where everybody knows one another. And we were living in this, like, as I said, a college that had like maybe 70 students all in all. And so it was a great place to hang out. So that's where the best parties happened in my college time, the best hanging outs, the best, you know, yeah, that kind of a thing. And drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and all that, as one does at a time like that. So, and after the college, I went again to live in Croatia, in Zagreb, because I wanted to play the guitar. While I was at college, I learned to play the guitar and sing, so I wanted to just perform and sing. And I did find out, and it was a great day when I did find out, that actually I could go to the city of Zagreb, the capital of Croatia, and just play and sing on the street and get paid for it. And I have some photos from that, of the first money I earned by playing and singing on the street, and it was a great experience because I could do something that I like to do and even get paid for it, so it was great. And I did that for like 3 years. And then I got sick, and then my throat, my tonsils got inflamed, and I decided that my health is a priority, so I wanted to fix that. And living in the city was not conducive to healthy living at that point in my mind. So I went back home. I went back here, where I am right now. And I started to work in the school. I started to teach art in the elementary and high school here in Bosnia and Croatia. In the nearby country, I was traveling across the border, and it was an interesting experience. For like, I did it for like 2 years, and it was an interesting experience. And I did it, you know, to see how it is like, more or less. But it's not something that I really enjoyed. It's not something that I'm really interested in. You know, most of the time what you do when you are an art professor in the elementary school, I was teaching in elementary and high school, most of the time what you do is you tell children to shut up, sit down, pay attention, shut up, sit down, pay attention, don't do that, sit down, stay calm. That's what you do for the majority of the time. And so, not very interested, very repetitive also. Every year you teach the same. Now, for some people it's ideal. I'm not putting it down, and it's a good thing, but as far as I'm concerned, I didn't like it. And I mean, it was interesting for the 2 years that I was there, but then after 2 years I said, no, I want to do something else. So I quit my job, I had some savings, and I started this. I started doing what I'm still doing. This is the phase of, then started the phase of my life that I'm in right now, which is just being an artist and making a video game and talking to you guys about art, about whatever, and making these videos. And yeah, and I did get married also. When I came back from Croatia to Bosnia, and when I started to teach in high school, I reconnected again with a girl that I was with at the time of the college, because she lives kind of a few kilometers from where I live, and so we got together because we are like very similar, and it was nice, and we lived here in Bosnia in my house together for like 5 years, and then we got married, but it did not work out, so we also got divorced, and so yeah, that also happened. And that would be it, I think. Here we are now, and who knows where it will go from here. I think that kind of wraps it up. Something else to say? I think not. And yeah, it was nice having this conversation with you. Take care and see you in the next one. Bye.